Thank you. AVS, as you may know, I'm Jasper Bettig, and for the 2 years prior to this, I was living in Bristol, a city in England southwest. It was my mom who first suggested that we move there. She has family there, and she wanted to live near them for a few years. And the rest of my family thought this was a good idea. So at the end of elementary school, we carried 12 large duffel bags across the Atlantic Ocean. England was, to say the least, different. Something was considered modern if it had been made in the last 100 years. Braces were not standard in the adolescent population, and teachers would go down to the local pub to make sure the older students hadn't snuck out during lunch. There are a few questions I was asked whenever people heard my accent. Have you been to New York or Florida or Las Vegas or Los Angeles? Did you have a big house? Did it have a swimming pool? Let me guess, you drove a large pickup truck, owned a lot of guns, and ate hamburgers and drank light beer, which always struck me as a misrepresentation of American society, especially in San Francisco, yet it explained well the preconceptions of the English. If any of you ever decide to live in Britain, prepare yourselves for the imitations of your accent that they will do, which can best be described as backcountry hick meets New Yorker who has never left the city or been exposed to outside vocal influence. This and other mockery, though easily brushed aside, came with a certain amount of pointedness as we were all embroiled in a great race towards unification to our various tribes, and to fail to enter one was akin to publicly announcing your departure from social life. Everybody was trying to find their group, and the competition for friends and allies was fierce. A few months into my Britannic escapade, my opinion of it began to decline, arriving at the point where I couldn't wait for the dreary weather and unwelcoming classmates to give way to the beautiful hills of San Francisco, from which friends old and new poured like the fog does down Twin Peaks in August. When my parents announced that they thought it would be so lovely to stay another year in England, I was, you can imagine, reluctant. I'd gotten into a fight with another kid over some stupid prank he'd played on me and earned a reputation for being a boring person who couldn't take a joke. A reputation which, in a society where one's ability to banter with wit and humor could make or destroy careers, friendships, and destinies, was incompatible with the establishment of good relations with my peers. It looked as though I'd end up as a pariah or an outcast who'd have to live with the consequences with my entire year. But the months went by and spring came. The pleasant scent drifting with the breeze may have come from the flowers, but brought with it a new chapter of my life on the small island. The fervor of the school year's beginning had died down, and the 6th grade had grown more comfortable with its member from across the pond. I was beginning to find myself invited to after-school gatherings at Subway, an establishment popular among the students for the simple reason that you could get a foot of sandwich for £4.99. People seemed to loosen up in large groups laden with deli meat and Italian bread, so I began to participate in the activities of the English adolescent boy, namely prowling the streets in packs of 10s or more, making jokes and buying obscene amounts of candy before going to school in the morning. This isn't to say that I rose to be a superstar that could yell, "You've got no friends," at random students and receive cheers for the great pearl of wit I'd enlightened the masses with. I wasn't able to get away with tying my tie like the cool kids did, where its width was twice its length, a fashion which was thought to be the definition of fashion and flair. Things were looking up for me. I'd been accepted into a group full of some nerds and one loud, pale Scot named John, who was infamous for wearing ridiculous hats to school. Apart from the occasional French oral exam, I was able to handle the schoolwork without Herculean effort. The English turned out to be friendly people who were happy to have a friend who ate pizza with his hands and marveled at the antiquity of something that hadn't even been around for a whole century. Things had turned out all right in the end. It was odd going back to the United States, where once I had dreamt of waltzing down Market Street with my posse in tow, I now felt a tinge of regret when going back. It's funny to think how I had moved across the pond, entered a new culture, and moved back, encountering a familiar culture I'd grown unfamiliar with while away. I left one school to go to another, just to find out that I'd have to think about changing again. Future holds uncertainty, but in the absence of catastrophe, one can be certain that most people, no matter what school they're going to, will act kindly towards you. You'll have to experience change, but you don't have to fear it. People are less different than one would think. Thank you.